everybody, what's going on? Jimmy is Proman here, back again with another awesome video. And in today's video, we're going to be doing the final review and the final thoughts on the Mobvoi TicWatch S2. Now, this was the watch that we unboxed and did the initial thoughts and the initial review about 2 weeks ago. And I'd have to be honest that this was the only watch that I've been using for the past couple weeks. I did place to the side the Gear S3 from Samsung, which is the main watch that I've always used. And this watch definitely held up. There's been quite a few watches that I've sent in the past that's been super cheap. Sometimes it would look really good on the internet or on Amazon, and the company would state all these cool things that the watch could do, but it never really kind of held its own. And so this is the first watch outside of the huge competitors of Apple and Samsung that I actually enjoyed and liked using. Now, we're also going to be looking at the price of this watch and some of the usability, the battery life, the functionality, and everything else. So first off, this watch is sitting on Amazon at $180, which sometimes is half of the price of some of the major watches out there. And so sometimes you might be a little skeptical on is it good, is it bad, and everything else. And so with this one, it did a really good job. It held up. Some of the main selling points is that it has a 2-day battery life, and I was able to get 2-day battery life if I was a little bit conservative with what I was doing, as well as if I was to change a setting, which was the always on display. So if you turned off the always on, but you kept everything else on, such as, you know, the flipped or lift to wake, if you have that on, you're perfectly fine. But when it came down to the always on display, which really looked sick, I was maybe able to get a full day to maybe a day and 8 hours. So it wasn't the full 2 days, but it did a really good job and did everything it was supposed to do outside of that. Now, it also was talking about US military grade standards, so the 810G, which is able to take on hot temperatures and cold temperatures, as well as 5 ATM, which means 5 atmosphere, which means you can take the watch up to 50 meters under feet, which is 150 feet. Now, that's much more depth than the Gear S3, which this one is only IP68. It's able to go underneath water for 30 minutes up to 5 feet. So I had no issues doing laps around the pool with this one. So I know for a fact if there's a day where it's a pool day, if it's a swimming day, if I want to be somewhere where there's a ton of water, there's a lot of action going on, some of the pressure of some of the water, if I wanted to track anything that I'm doing in terms of the water, this is the watch to go to for what I own. Now, the Gear S3 will definitely be put to the side. Even though it is a little water resistant, it's not waterproofed as much as this watch. And I'd have to say the comfort of this watch is super comfortable. It's extremely light. And when I had it on there, I was like, dang, this is pretty nice to have on. So you can wear this thing to bed if you want to. It's actually not too large. It's not too small though, but it's definitely light if you want to go swimming, if you want to go running, if you're doing cardio, if you're cycling. This is able to track everything that you are doing, because it does also have a 24-hour heart rate monitor. So I'm pretty much looking at everything else over here. I think I covered some of the main selling points of this watch. The last thing I do also want to talk about in terms of a negative, if I was to have a couple negatives on this one, because you want to have some pros and some cons, I'd have to say that, you know, even though this works wonders, it does a fantastic job. This is the charging cradle. Even though it's done with these little, you know, pins, little adapters, I would like it if it had wireless charging. Everything is wireless charging now, so I don't really know why we're still going along with these cradles. It's probably a way to keep the price down. It does a good job. It never let me down. It does what it needs to do. But it's just one of those things that you also want to lug around and carry around, and you can't just do wireless charging. So I'd have to say this has to be a con. Anybody would also say that as well. There could be damage to some of those charge ports and pins and connections. And I guess the last one would have to be that there is no speaker. So I'm used to having a watch where if I want to go run without a headset, or maybe if my headset or Bluetooth headset is dead, I forgot to charge it, and I want to go run, I would like to have a small little speaker grill on here so I can listen to music where the audio comes out of here. So now let's get just a little bit closer look at the watch, some of the functionality that I didn't really know at the very beginning. I knew I was able to swipe down or swipe over, but I didn't really know what they were originally. So with this part right here, if you were to pull down, this will be your settings. You can change the display brightness right there. You can also go inside of some of your battery savers if you'd like to turn that one on. You also have this button right here, which I gotta remember what this one is. This one is to ringing of the phone. So this is to locate your device if you don't know where your phone is. And then also you have a do not disturb setting. You also have your airplane mode setting. It shows if you're connected to Wi-Fi and what your battery life is. And so a lot of the times, with anything you do, it will be Wi-Fi with it. And then you can also turn screen back on with this button right here. So if I want to turn off the display, this is one of the ways you'd be able to do it. The other way that you're also able to do it is by placing your entire hand onto the watch, then it'll also turn off the screen. So let's go through just a little bit more. So if you're to swipe over from the left-hand side, this will be your Google Assistant, everything that is built in, which is really nice that it's built-in Google Assistant. And then if you swipe up from the bottom, this is going to be all of your notifications. And if you swipe over on the right-hand side of the watch, this will be one of the tiles, which is one of your the workouts. Here is your weather, which you can tap on that and get more information. And you also have your events as well too. Now, if any of these that you would like to move or change, if you press and hold on the watch, this is where you can actually move this one over to the right. Maybe I want to move this one to the left, or you can move over this one. Let's say you want to move this one to the right. This is just really kind of one of the easy ways that you're able to rearrange all the different tiles. Now, I do want to say too that if you pull down, the best way to get out of it is just to go right back up. And then if you, let's say that you swiped up over here, you're not really able to do anything this way. You want to swipe it back down to bring it back down. Now this button here is going to be used, it's a one button watch, so this will take you into all of your applications. Now my favorite thing on the watch, and the thing is that I use this watch very simply. I really don't do a ton of things with the watch, and so this one really covers all of my needs, especially at the $180 price. Now when you go inside of here, this is the fun one, is that when you go inside of Pool Swim. So this is where you can choose and you just state, let's get swimming. And you put in if you're male or female, what's your height, what's your weight, I believe also your date of birth as well, so you can get some accurate information when you swim. This was my favorite feature of this watch. Now, if I was to swipe up, you can see that there is freestyle with weights. You also have cycling, you have indoor running, you have outdoor walking, and then outdoor running. So this is a way that you're able to track anything and everything, of what is going on. This is probably one of my favorite watch faces. So I have the day right over here and the date. Well, the date is one of those things I always need to know. It just happens to have the weather. The time is easy to read, your steps on the top, and then your battery life is on the very bottom. So this is my favorite watch face with it. Now really, this is kind of about it. You swipe down, this is where your settings are. You have more settings on the very top other than those quick settings. So you can change your display, your apps and notification, the gestures. You can go through the connectivity, accessibility, general of the watch. You can go through the personalization, storage, and system. So let's say that we kind of go through here and we look at the gestures. If you're curious on what the gestures are, you have the tilt to wake. You also have the touch to wake. And then this one right here is the wrist gestures, which I played with the wrist gestures, but I didn't really need to have those launched. And you can also go through the tutorial if you would like to pretty much see all of what these three are able to do and what all those are capable of doing. Now let's head over into the two applications that you will download if you get this watch. The first one is going to be the Mobvoi watch or application. This one is just a very simple, basic application getting to the nitty gritty. So you can set routines. This right here is just looking at the device itself. You can check out your steps and your exercise and your beats per minute and everything of what's going on. And you can also see more information when you tap on all of them. But for today, I didn't really wear anything. No bracelets, no watches, no necklaces. I didn't really get up for the day fully. So there's really nothing that is on this watch for today. Now also too, on the very bottom, this is where you have the store. So if you want to look at more of the watches, you can check out, you can see that those are actually the two different colored watches. Mine is the white version. There is also a black if you'd like. They do have the different watches down here. I think this is, see there's the S2. I think this is the, what is this? The E2, I believe. So you can actually go through, yeah, there's the E2. And so you can check out the E2, and any other time that there's new watches, you can check out the store. It links you directly over into their pages. And then you can also go through some of the menus on the top if you want to look at the wearables, audio, accessories, and everything else that comes from Mobvoi. And then right over here is going to be your account. So this is where you can check out the firmware, if it's up to date. You can send back feedback, go through the settings for your Google Assistant, the Amazon Alexa, and some of the FAQs, and you can also log out. So the Mobvoi app is one of those that's very simple. Now heading over into Wear OS, this is the main application that you'll use with this watch or any other Google Watch as well. So this is where you can turn on Bluetooth. Right now this one's connected through Wi-Fi. It's also connected through Bluetooth as well. You can also find more watch faces right here. So you can go through all these different watch faces. If there's any of these that fit your needs, you'd be able to go through this one. One of them I do love is this one. I love this one right here. It just happens to be that it doesn't have the date. Now, if it had the date on here, I would be using this one because it's super simple, it's basic, it's got the black background, it's gonna help the battery life. This one right here is actually very cool too. This was another one I couldn't decide if I was gonna use this one or the one that I previously was using because I love the clock face on here. I love that it had the day. I love the colors. It just didn't have the date. And that was why I chose this one right over here, which was Turbo. I really need the date. Somebody would say, hey, what are you doing on the 14th? Or if I needed to figure out what the day was, but that's just me personally. So that is the watch faces. This is where you can change all the tiles on the watch. So these were the different watch tiles that you've seen on my watch. I can add more of these, as well as going through and changing the order of what these look like. So again, this is going to be your main assistant application for this watch. And then you also have notifications. Inside of here, you can change all the different notifications of what you'd like to come through. So you can toggle these on and off, as well as you can take a screen or silence the phone while wearing the watch. If we go on down, you can check out your agenda settings. So what calendars are all connected. Your Google Assistant, you can go through the settings and everything else with the Google Assistant. And then underneath the advanced settings, this is where I would say it's very important for the always on screen. This is one of those things that killed the battery life. If you have always on screen, it will not last you 2 days. I don't really care what you do. Even if you just keep it this way and you get a couple notifications a day, this is what it'll come down to, is that you won't get 2 days with the always on screen. That's why mine is turned off. Even though it was beautiful and fun to look at, I didn't feel like charging my watch every single night. So this is just being honest. So this is where I kept on the tilt to wake screen, which is gonna be your best friend if you have that always on screen off. And then you also have the auto launch of media controls. So this is super fun. When you're watching a YouTube video on your phone, it'll show the icon on the watch with the controls of next, previous, and play or pause. So that was actually pretty cool. This is where you go through your accounts, privacy. You can go through your watch battery, so you can check out where you're sitting at with your watch battery. Then other than just checking the watch battery, you can also check out the watch storage and then the watch app usage. So really this is all you're gonna have with this watch. It's very simple, it's basic. You gotta remember this one is a Google watch, this one is a Wear OS. It's a very vanilla experience. And when you have other companies such as Apple, they're gonna have their own stuff on that one. When you get the Samsung watch, they'll have their own stuff on that watch as well too. And so really with this one, with the final thoughts and the final review, and is it worth it getting this watch? I'd have to say, if you don't have a watch right now, if you don't own anything, and even if you do own a watch and you want to have another one that you can use, this is actually the only watch that I came into usage with that I actually like, and it's not cheap. It actually has a really good connection. I've never lost a connection with it. I read a few different posts on here and reviews on Amazon where some people were talking about that it was losing the connection, losing either Bluetooth or a Wi-Fi connection, but it still has a rating out of the 239 customer reviews. It's still almost a 4-star device. It's a what is that, a 3.8 star on this one, or 3.9. And so really a lot of people have almost the same responses as me if I was to go through them. I looked at the 1 stars on here because I wanted to see how bad and what was happening with those watches. So I didn't read the 5-star or the 4-star. But for the 1 stars, it seemed like there's a lot of people having connection issues, and it could have just been their phone too, and different Android versions and things like that. So I'd have to say it's a good watch, 180 bucks. I'll place the link below this video inside the description if you guys were looking for a watch like this one. You have the white version, you also have the black version. And if you don't want the S2 and maybe you want the E2, which is a different styled watch, you can check that one out too. And the E2 has a lot of really good reviews on that watch as well. So yes, this one is worth 180. It is worth the purchase. It's worth the price. It did everything I wanted it to do. I thought I was going to be disappointed. Anytime any watch was to be sent to me that was not a major player, I was always disappointed. This is the only one that I actually like and I used. And this is the first time actually picking up this watch in the last 2 weeks, and you can even tell that it itself is stiff. It's been sitting on a table just flat, and you can tell even with the wristbands that it's stiff, man. It has not been used. Usually it's kind of flimsy, but this watch did a fantastic job. Am I still going to be using it after this video? I will be, but I want to go back to this one. I'm going to play with it, see what it feels like with the weight, just kind of go back to what I was used to see if I will miss this watch. And to be honest, this one did everything I needed to do. It's super light. I really don't know what to say. It is worth 180 bucks if you guys don't have a watch just yet, or if you are looking for a brand new watch. Now I'm rambling. Now we're gonna go to the very end of this video. I hope you guys have liked this video. Give this thing a thumbs up if you like the review. Again, the only cons that I have with this watch is I wish it had wireless charging. I wish it had a better battery life, something that is lasting more than 2 days, because I'm used to 3 or 4 with my watch, as well as a speaker grill. So those are the only things I'd have to say that are negatives. Everything else, positives. Worth 180. Go swimming with this thing. Go into the desert with this thing. Go into very cold temperatures with this thing. Go 150 feet underwater if you want to with this thing. Other than that, hit on that subscribe button, a little red circle on the very bottom left-hand side, and I'll see you guys later.